So we're moving from climate to the future of Proptech. So real estate is one of the world's largest asset classes, but also has been one of the slowest to digitize. At the same time, landlords, lenders, occupiers are under pressure on sustainability, efficiency, and user experience. So today's conversation is about which Proptech models are truly changing how assets are developed, financed, operated, which is just better front ends, how macro conditions and regulation are shaping what gets funded. And so to do that, our panel brings together specialist Proptech investors, founders, and ecosystem builders who are right in the middle of that shift. So to lead the panel today, delighted to introduce Max Studennikoff, who's founder and chairman of the Climate Change Forum, which a significant investment forum which convenes investors, policymakers, and entrepreneurs around sustainability, impact, and technology. And obviously with strong exposure in there to innovation in the real asset world. So over to you, Max.
Thank you so much, Roddy. First of all, I'd like to greet you all here and apologize before the audience for our panel not being exactly gender correct. You know, we're all male here, but that's the way it is. I would still, by way of shaking you up a little bit and giving a bit of credit to our panelists, to give them a big round of applause beforehand. Please do so. So we're here to discuss the future of Proptech. Before we do so, can I just ask very quickly, very succinctly, to introduce yourself from right to left. It's not pitching, it's not, going into the details, just very briefly who you are, and why you're here.
Hi everyone, my name is Hugo. I'm one of the partners at Pi Labs. We are a pre-seed to Series A fund investing in the future built environment. We've done about 100 investments to date, and I'm here to say that, to make the case that the industry is going to turn around.
That's more than we're looking for. Over to you.
Hi, my name is James. I'm the founder of Checkboard. We are a client onboarding and client money infrastructure for regulated firms. We help them verify the client, hold money, and move it around for them. And I am here to talk about how bright the future of Proptech is. So yeah, there you go.
I'm Louis. I'm with Systemiq Capital. So I'm a founder turned investor. I lead our applied AI investments. And yeah, I'm here to learn from you guys, but also talk about the future of Proptech. Yes.
You're being modest here. You're heading one of the biggest funds, because we were having a conversation the other day, and I said, don't even come up with an idea of any projects that will need less than 5 mil. We're not interested. Is that right?
Yeah, we typically invest at Series A, so our check size is $5 million.
Alas, well, we're used to that, yeah. Oleksiy?
Hi, everybody. My name is Oleksiy Lubinsky, and I am the CEO of Rentberry. We are based in Silicon Valley in San Francisco, the Proptech company, the first company to actually implement AI back in 2024, the first company to release AI real estate agent, and yeah, doing lots and lots of innovations, raised more than 50 million up to date, and planning to do the NASDAQ IPO in the nearest future.
It's been a long way coming all the way from San Francisco here.
Well, we have offices all over, so we have engineers in Europe, so yeah, I travel back and forth a lot.
Right. Great. On that note, before we go any further, to make sure we're all on the same page, how would you define the term Proptech? I mean, what that to me is, and please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, when we're talking about Proptech, it's the totality of technologies that are helping and improving our renting, buying, selling, maintaining, managing properties by way of data, automation, AI, anything else to that, add to that, just to make sure we're on the same page term-wise, or have I covered pretty much everything? Good.
I can start. Internally, we've kind of dropped the term Proptech because we think it's too narrow for the types of companies that we're looking for, because there's an entire value chain that allows the renting, the servicing, the financing of the properties to happen, starting from pre-design construction all the way to efficient buildings, retrofitting, including our infrastructures. And so narrowing it down to it's just about managing the properties was for us something that was very limiting, and therefore we like to think about just anything that can digitalize and decarbonize the built environment is of interest for us.
Fantastic, right. Well, technically, I should have been moderating the previous panel, which was brilliantly moderated by my colleague, because I'm the head of the Climate Change Investment Forum, but I couldn't say no when Dan kindly suggested my moderating this particular one, because I do happen to be a real estate investor as well. So I'm just making sure we're on the same panel, obviously, we're on the same panel, but we're on the same page as well. Right, let me start with the first question, very first question. We all saw back in 2020, 21, during the COVID times, you know, the Proptech was on the talk of the town. It was really just was very much talked about, and people were investing, and then it just kind of hit a wall. It's kind of a slump, if you want. What's happening, and from your point of view, why did this happen in the first place? What are the reasons? Whoever is the first to, doesn't have to be in the chronological order, so to speak. Any ideas at all, Luz? For example, you.
Well, I think there's an element that's pretty simple. It's like the cyclical nature of real estate and construction, right? Money was very cheap until 2020. It got more expensive, so that crunches construction, and that trickles into property as well. So I think that's a big challenge as VCs investing into this ecosystem, where like startups need to get funded and succeed through the cycle. And some of them, like there's an element of right place, right time when you're a startup anyway. But I think in this space it's particularly tricky because when a recession hits, everybody takes a bit of a beating.
Plus, we all remember back in 2020, 2021, we were all working from home in front of computers, you know, rather than, and when it came to real action, you know, it just, any ideas, any thoughts on that, Hugh?
I think it was true for the entire VC industry, right? We had a massive bubble that burst in 2021. VCs haven't deployed as much capital since then, right? And so it was just a matter of what Lou was saying before, money was cheap. And so pretty much every industry got overfunded. I think we've had a bit of market correction over the past few years, but maybe an anecdotal stat for us to make the case that it's bouncing back. I think the last batch of Y Combinator was the one that had the most companies that come from Proptech, the built environment, ever, right? And so it used to be very grueling for us to look through the batches and try to come up with companies that we could potentially invest in. And we're starting to see that even the most renowned Silicon Valley investors are starting to pay attention to it.
Isn't there a deeper reason for us still? I mean, that's fine, absolutely. But could it be that the VC didn't actually manage to come to grips with the complexity of Proptech, you know, back in the day, and that's probably why we're seeing this kind of slump and that, or is that purely because of what you were referring to, Hugo?
I'm happy to elaborate on that. I think Proptech companies cannot be, it's not being held to the same standard, but it is very hard to look at them and think you're going to be the type of company that 1 month after you start, you'll have 1 million in ARR, right, in your annual recurring revenue. That doesn't happen because of the nature of the business. Companies are slower to adopt compared to most all of other industries. I think real estate and construction is the least digitized industry in the world after fishing and agriculture.
Absolutely. Oleksiy?
I just want to mention that actually the COVID times that you referred to helped our company to propel further because lots of people stayed at home. Lots of people did not want to go out and meet personally brokers, homeowners, because of the potentially contamination. You know, everybody was just sitting in the home and things like that. So our company, we saw two trends happening. One is digital nomads. People, you know, I'm working from home, so I can now spend 6 months in Miami, 6 months in London, 6 months in LA, for example. So we adapted our business and our platform to accommodate for those type of users. Another thing is full automation. So we were the first company that realized that and started to automate all of the real estate tasks essentially into one platform, starting from the application process, pulling credit background checks, credit checks, background reports, rental payments, even auctioning. So in many cases, in United States, for example, in San Francisco, where the market demand is very high, lots of people want to apply for the single property, and the problem is for the applicants is like who else is applying, what they are offering, how to make this process more transparent. So our company again was the first one to integrate. Some people call it bidding technology. I don't like that term, but essentially the transparent application process where you see applicants, where you see who is offering what, and based on that information, you make educated decision and you submit your offer. So lots and lots of innovations actually happening in the times of like COVID, and when the VC funds, for example, more cautious, I would say, when it comes to the investing, the companies, this is the time for the companies to actually make really nice innovations for the landlords and tenants. At least what we saw with our company. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I agree with everything everyone said. So we got started in 2020. And I remember back then everybody was talking about pent-up demand. There was a lot of pent-up demand in the market.
Over a laptop, presumably.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And everybody was working from home. So naturally that led to a massive innovative surge. Everybody kind of thought that, the world was going to change. We at the time also thought the same, and what we faced was, slower sales cycles, and I think that is what Hugo was referring to in terms of the long sales cycles that the market faces. And what we did, we kind of went further upstream and kind of looking at working across the different parts of the actual industry, working with the real estate agents or property estate agents in the UK, conveyancers and etc., and developing solutions that unifies all of it. And I think the opportunities exist where you are able to move away from the transactional volumes and just the longest transactional volumes and looking at the non-correlated revenues that come in the industry.
So where are we at at which part of the curve are we at the moment? You might think, obviously the 2020, 21, when was the peak is probably past, but are we getting on to another peak, or we're just, right, it's whoever wants to, continue, James.
Yeah, sure. So
I have a special question for you on that note, but before you do so, go on.
With the interest rate, kind of increasing, the world is no longer living with cheap money. So people have to get innovative in different ways to monetize or work within the property industry. Transaction volumes are facing some drops, and as such, you have to get creative as to how you help real estate agents and people along the value chain in ways which can occur outside of the cyclical nature of the industry. So yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Presumably, when you're talking about the huge amount of brand new technologies like AI, and I'm not even talking about the various segments of fintech and finance and quantum or whatnot coming into play, inevitably things like fraud, things like money laundering are very much on the rise. We can't turn a blind eye to that. That's inevitable, and we've been seeing a huge rise of those over the past few years, which to me is a telltale sign that Proptech is not keeping the pace with these sort of manifestations. Whilst you were having your mic up, James, what are the solutions? Are there ways of syncing, if I may say so, the development, the headlong development of Proptech with these rather unfortunate occurrences like money laundering and fraud? What has to be done?
My view of fraud and money laundering is, as a world, we need to move away from just relying on information that we capture from applicants and people themselves, and start moving into or taking information from authoritative sources. In the UK, you'll be looking at bureaus and government supply data to verify what you get given. It's a very different world to where it was 5 years ago, where somebody would give you a pay slip. Today they can make that pay slip in seconds, using AI. So you need to have another way of verifying that pay slip or verifying the information that they provide
Oleksiy?
Yeah, so in terms of the money laundering and this whole technology around that, so back in 2024, we started analyze pictures of the properties that landlords actually upload to the platform. And through the AI, again, we were kind of the pioneers in that regards. We analyzed exactly what's happening with the pictures, what kind of view there is, what kind of amenities the property has. And it serves two purposes. One is to help the landlords to actually draft the correct description of the properties, because in many cases, landlords omit some stuff, they're just lazy and do not write extensive description with the marking all of the amenities and all of the beautiful parts that the property might have. But the other part is actually tackling the fraud and fraudulent listings, because on the platforms like Craigslist in the United States, for example, or even Zillow, you go there, you see a property, and in actually many cases, that property can be outdated, that property can be fraudulent listing, and somebody else will ask for money when you apply for that property, even before you will move in. So that's kind of the number one fraudulent scams tactics of the fraudsters. So looking at the pictures, you actually can do lots and lots of things. You can see, where those pictures were taken from online. What kind of view from the picture does that view actually matches where the property is based and located, based, on the Google Maps and things like that. So that's kind of analysis what we conduct when properties are getting posted, and we saw actually a huge decline. More than 90%, as a matter of fact, of the properties that, essentially red flagged on our platform. So, yeah, AI and technology, they actually can help to tackle.
I'll ask a specific question about AI in a while, but whilst you're holding your mic, Oleksiy, does regulation help at all, or does it, quite the contrary sometimes, because this is such a fragmented market, right? It's probably the most fragmented segment of markets you can possibly imagine. The rules and regulations are very different within the European Union. I'm not even talking about European Union versus UK or USA. So based on your experience, because you seem to have worked across a whole variety of jurisdictions, is that more a helping hand, or it's just kind of hindrances and obstacles that you have to overcome every time you start a company, real estate?
This is actually a very, very great question. Even in the United States, we have lots and lots of different laws across different states.
I like when we say we.
Yeah.
You say.
As the company, yeah. But you're absolutely right. So we operate in more than 100 countries. So after Airbnb, we kind of the second company that operates in so many jurisdictions, but in the long-term rental space, not the short-term rental space like Airbnb. So we absolutely know, kind of the problems that can arise when you try to, kind of open up to the new location, to the new jurisdiction. What we do is we partner with the local companies. So we actually have more than 70 partnerships, including with the leading companies across variety of locations, even like Expedia, like Realtor.com, and in the European Union, if you know any leading company in the EU in the real estate space, probably we partnered with that company. So this is kind of the old school tactics, what we we're doing. But going forward, analyzing again AI technology, what we are in the process of developing is actually partnering with a legal AI company that would help, for example, landlords to draft, real estate documents, real estate agreements, to help them to rent properties faster. Because our ultimate goal of our company is full simplification and full digitalization of all the rental processes. And one obstacle in that is agents and brokers. So at the end of the day, we want to remove that particle from the equation.
Presumably you must be using smart contracts as well.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, so that's kind of the goal, to remove agents and brokers, automate everything. But going into different jurisdiction, definitely the AI and the legal, the AI in the legal industry or legal space can help to automate lots and lots of parts of
Thank
that
you.
equation.
That brings me to my next question about the AI. Can some of you perhaps outline larger implications of AI? Because we've been talking about AI for quite a while, for what I remember, at least over a decade. But it's been only over the last 1, 2, 3 years that this technology has seemed to have been spiraling out of control. So much so that rumors are about in 1 or 2 years from now, it might easily replace the thick end of all of human jobs. So, but looking on the bright side of that, do you think AI, and I'm particularly pointing this out of a plethora of other technologies like quantum and blockchain and whatnot, how can AI can facilitate PropTech, and where do you see its biggest potential? I'd rather ask someone else if possible. Oleksiy, because we've been speaking long enough, I'm so sorry. Hugo?
Yeah, maybe one of the implications that we're seeing is that our own investors are all from the real estate industry. You have your developers, general contractors, REITs, etc. And I would say pre-November 2022, deployments were one of the things that our own company struggled with the most in order to be able to do pilots, sign contracts, etc. Because there was a bit of distrust with machine learning algorithms, with the AI pre-ChatGPT. And we are starting to see that the fact that AI became almost mass market, that it's much easier to adopt and much easier for people to understand that there is potential. The flip side of that is that a lot of the companies that we see, the main question we have now is, can't companies build it themselves, right? I have thoughts on that, but I don't want to delay too long.
Yeah,
I mean,
look, I think AI is just a technology. People in most industries, and I think especially true in a relatively low tech sophistication industry like PropTech, like property, people don't really care what technology they're procuring. They're asking people to solve a problem. I think actually overusing the term AI is probably not a good idea. It's like reading. If you have to tell everybody you're doing it, you're probably not doing it right? Like if you're reading well, it's pretty seamless. I think the main potential of this new wave is to really cut across the fragmentation of this industry and the fact that the data readiness, because AI is just still a new wave of data analysis, right? The problem is when you look at companies like, I don't know, JLL, CBRE, they have so much data, but it's not in a format or stored in ways that are easily accessible. I think this new wave of agentic AI is exciting because it allows companies like them who want to do analysis over 50 different jurisdictions at the same time, 100 different asset classes, to do that relatively efficiently compared to 10, 15 years ago where they would have to send teams of data scientists, change managers, forward deployment engineers, etc. I hear that JLL right now is mandating like internal AI use to a very high level. So that creates a little bit of nervousness about, are they going to just replicate internally all of these early stage solutions that we're seeing? But again, it's not AGI, right? Like we're not asking them to do superhuman things. It's mainly I think delivering on the overblown expectations of 10 years ago. Now you can actually do it.
I think Oleksiy is buzzing to say something.
Yeah, it's me again. So I agree that data is everything. So lots and lots of companies in real estate, and everybody knows about this, are classified websites. Meaning you go there, you look at the pictures, you look at the description, and that's pretty much it. They connect you with the broker, homeowner, You sign paper agreement, you rent the place, and for the rest year or so, you're not even looking in the direction of that website. So they lose you as a customer. And I'm talking about the Purplebrick, Zillow, Truly. I mean, all of the websites which come to your mind are absolutely simple, classified technology, primitive, old school platforms. When we started to develop our technology and expand our platform, we realized that data is everything. So when you have an absolutely closed loop rental solution, now you have so many verticals where you can look to. For example, when people apply to property through our platform, we pull automatically credit reports and we analyze credit scores. So we don't pass this confidential information to the landlords because it's, there is no need for them to know the actual social security number, but we pass just relevant information such as credit score. Knowing credit score, it's already a massive data point because, for example, company Credit Karma, it's a multi-billion-dollar company by itself, and what they just offer to do, you can pull credit report and credit score for free, and then they sell that information to the fintech companies, like credit card corporations, then mail you credit card offers based on your credit score. So now when we look at the data points, what we have, and this is just very simple, very small example, but they go in, the examples are absolutely lots and lots when you automate the processes and you collect and store the data. So now when we have those credit scores, we already can sell that data to the fintech companies so they can mail to our users the credit card offers.
Well, time flies, doesn't it? We seem to have got over the thick end of the panel, and I wouldn't be here if I were not to ask a couple of questions related to what yours truly has been actively engaged in. We can keep on pontificating until we're blue in the face about the future of PropTech and all those wonderful trends and technologies, but we shouldn't forget that the world is unfortunately heating at a much quicker speed than originally thought. And it's quite possible that we might not only exceed the global warming by 1.5, that's already unfortunate, that tipping point has been passed, but also 2 and probably even higher. It's Mother Nature who's, even if we would like to turn a blind eye to what's happening, it will remind us with increasing number of natural disasters like floods, droughts where they shouldn't be, earthquakes, hurricanes, and so on. So that brings me to my next question. Knowing full well that real estate and construction is among the worst polluters contributing to the gas emissions, from various stats ranging from 8% to a whopping 11%. So consider it 1/10 of the global emissions comes from real estate, from construction. So I have this question to ask, and probably I'll start off with Lewis because the specialty of his fund is exactly working on the intersection of finance and climate and real estate. How can PropTech help resolve sustainability problems in real estate? Where do you see the potential and the drawbacks?
Yeah, look, great question. First, I would say, sure, the built environment is responsible for a lot of emissions, but it's also the one thing we don't go without, right? It's pretty low in the Maslow pyramid. We all need a roof over our heads. We're very happy to have buildings. It's how you can do more with less and how we can accelerate, I think, the transition of that built environment and the way the energy flows through it. So one part, at the intersection of PropTech and climate tech that I'm very excited about is solutions that are accelerating the ability of the asset owners to transition their buildings into energy generating, right? I think one of the most important themes or trends over the past 10, 20 years is that every large asset owner now needs to be energy smart. They used to be able to not care. They just had a building, they don't really give a shit, they don't really care what goes into that building. Now they really need to be very, very smart about how they electrify and how they power these buildings. That's a massive change because the expertise didn't used to exist. And so all of these asset owners, all of these property developers, they have to fuse that. On the other side, like energy companies used to not necessarily have to care where that energy would go, and now we see with data centers that's become more and more important. So I think this trend is probably the most important.
I'll just take the liberty of rephrasing the question slightly by a tad. How do we engage sustainability in Proptech? How do we make it part and parcel of Proptech? Any ideas? Obviously, we can just start off, go off at a tangent, for another half an hour or so. But where do you see the potential? We can probably answer this question as well. How do we engage sustainability, and where can we incorporate it into the Proptech thinking?
I think echoing what was said at the previous panel, there's intersections that are immediately like commercial and sustainability, right? People now really care about saving energy in a very immediate way. People care about saving materials because materials cost inflation is way higher than the rest of the economy. So all of a sudden, saving concrete and steel is not a sustainability thing, it's just good business, right? And I think what we've seen about the past 10 years is things that are only anchored in someone's sustainability commitments tend to ebb and flow. But good business is always good business. So,
anyone to add to that before we round off?
Just one final thought. Even though there's maybe a slight bigger divide between the US and Europe in terms of sustainability targets or ESG, whatever we want to call them, if you look at the largest companies in the world, they still have those targets very much present, and they want, for example, office spaces that mimic that, right? And so this also drives the premium. For example, here in the city of London, when you're trying to retrofit a building, you're not allowed to just make it look nicer. You actually have to add net square space, right? And so to be able to be more efficient, more sustainable, because those companies are going to want that. And so there is a business sense here already present. And I think that no matter how we phrase it, what kind of label we give it, that's the way to go.
So Proptech has to be sustainable in every way, so to speak. Right, one last snap question, very briefly. If we just were to fast forward in 2030 or 2032, okay, how would you define, using one word, the future of Proptech? I can come up with prompts, whether that be technologies, that would be trust, would that be data, or maybe anything out of those. So give me one or two words without going too much, spreading yourself too thin. Whoever can brave it first.
Affordable.
Affordability, bravo.
Infrastructural.
And potentially no fraud. Yeah. Absolutely.
Energy first.
Energy, I was expecting that, climate-related thing, yeah. Oleksiy?
Customization and personification.
And personification, right. Thank you so much indeed for your thoughtful inputs, and please give a big round of applause to our panelists. I hope you've enjoyed the panel.
Thank you, everyone.
Was on time.